Hello there and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Deepa Robbins from DeeZinesByD and I'm so excited to be able to share this inspiration with you for the Spellbinders Spring Into Glimmer Collection. Now, these products are all new and have been released in the Spellbinders store just today. I have everything linked in my blog and my blog is linked in my description, so go ahead and check all of that out. So these are the three sets that I'm showing you today. This is the Spellbinders Glimmer Edge Flowers, which are really stunning. Along with this, there's the Spellbinders Sentiment Banners, which I actually won't be using in this video, but I will be showing on Reels in my Instagram profile. And then I also have the Spellbinders Be Bold Glimmer Sentiments. Now, these I will be using, and I'll be using them along with two other projects, which I showed in the beginning of this video, but I'm only going to be focusing on one card for this tutorial, which is the mini slimline card. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take these beautiful glimmer flowers and I'm going to foil them all out with the Spellbinders Polished Brass foil. So there are two flowers and there's one leaf branch. So what I did was I foiled the flowers about 6 times along with the leaf branch 6 times, and then I cut them all out with the corresponding dies. As you can see, the foiling is stunning because it's a nice thick border or line for these flowers. The lines are all pretty thick, which are really nice, I think. Now, they're thick for a reason because these dies actually cut the flowers right up to the very edge of the foiling. So unlike most die cuts, there's no white border around it, which I think is the genius part of this set. I really love that the flowers come out without that border. It just gives them a little bit more oomph, and with that foil on there, it really stands out on cards. So once I've got all of those flowers foiled, I went ahead and I foiled the sentiment. So I'm just going to be using the thanks sentiment, and I'm using the same colored foil here, which is the polished brass. And you can see this is a really nice thick sentiment, which again goes perfectly with these flowers because the foiling is thick as well. Now, these come with coordinating dies, which is really nice, especially for foiled sentiments. And I'm actually going to be cutting out all of those little foliage and like other little leafy elements with some of these different cardstocks. Now, that glitter gold cardstock is actually the cardstock that came with the Spellbinders All Aboard kit, which was released in December last year. I think it's actually still available in the store, but if you have that, this glitter cardstock is absolutely stunning. I love the gold. It's a really nice deep yellowy gold, and it goes nicely with the polished brass foil. So that's why I chose to use that. Along with that, I'm using some Sizzix Opulent cardstock in gold mirror and gold matte. And it has this nice little vine here with these little flowers. And I love these little flowery elements that come with the Spellbinder set because you can use them on the vine, or maybe you can even use these little flowery bits as just, a bit of interest to add along borders or around sentiments, even without that little vine that I'm attaching it to right now. So the best thing I find is to attach those two little flower pieces together, and you can attach them in a little offset fashion. Maybe you want to have them a little more spaced out so they're not being covered as much. It's completely up to you, and it's what makes your card more unique. Now, once I've put all those little pieces together, I've decided to work on the background, and I'm actually using Oxide Inks. So if you're not familiar, Spellbinders also actually carries Oxide Inks now. So go ahead and check out the store if you haven't got the full set. They have a bunch of them there. So I decided to use pine needles, chipped sapphire, black soot, and tattered rose to create a bit of a gradient. So I'm going from darkest color to lightest. So I actually started off with the pine needles and realized that I needed to have that chipped sapphire first. So I went back over the edge with chipped sapphire. I added a bit of black soot again and mixed it with the chipped sapphire. Then I added some more pine needles, and now I'm finishing off with the tattered rose. Now with the tattered rose, because it's a light color, I started on the bottom edge and moved towards the center and then mixed between the tattered rose and the pine needles. This way I'm not really muddying up my blending brush or the ink pad, right? So once I had that whole background ink blended, I went ahead and I grabbed this this die set, which was actually the large die of the month for July 2021, and I grabbed these 3 frames. It's a mini slimline set, and I wanted to create, basically I wanted 2 frames from it. One of them I'm not going to use. So that's the centerpiece, which I'm going to use. This is the second frame that I won't be using. And then the last frame, which is this a straight outer rectangle frame, this I'm going to use. So I've cut out a card base, which is a mini slimline sized card base, and I'm just attaching that rectangle right onto the card base with some Barely Arts glue. And then for the centerpiece, I thought I wanted it to be propped up a little bit. So I just grabbed some of my generic plain white craft foam, and I'm just cutting it to size so that I can put it on the back of that panel and help prop it up. So I'm just going to glue it on there with some liquid glue. You could use whatever glue you'd like. I just had this handy and it just worked for me. So now that I've got that glue nice on there, I will go ahead and attach it to the center of the card. And you see it just creates a nice kind of background or base for your card. And those colors just kind of really help the card and the flowers stand out. Now the flowers are white cardstock, so they're really going to stand out on all of that color. Now I also have some foam squares here that I'm using to prop up these two flowers in the two corners. And I decided to use, this is actually the foam squares that come in Spellbinders card kits. If you get them, you're familiar with it. And then I also have some of my own foam squares, which are not as thick. So by using foam squares with different thickness, I'm getting different levels of dimension on my card. So I have that middle panel sticking up. I've got these nice big thick foam squares from Spellbinders. And then I've also got some other foam squares, which are maybe like half the thickness that I'm going to use for some of these other little elements that I'm sticking onto the card. So this is how I'm putting that all together. Once I've got those two flowers, I'll just tuck all of the other little bits in and behind there. And what I used on top of that glitter cardstock was actually some Sizzix Opulent cardstock in matte gold and gold mirror. So I used my tweezers to kind of stick all of those little foliage pieces behind the flowers, and that just helps me kind of make sure that the glue is adhering to the back panel. And once I've kind of arranged everything the way that I like it, I will go ahead and add some foam squares to the back of the sentiment, and I'll attach the sentiment just to the center there. Now I actually thought I would add a few more of those foliage pieces around the sentiment, but when I looked at it, it just seemed like a little bit too much, so I left that later on. Now, to finish off this card, I have the Spellbinders Gold Mix Color Essential Gems, and I'm just going to grab them in different sizes. I really love gem sets that come in different sizes because it just adds a little bit more interest to your card. And then I'm also adding some AB Clear gems. These are nail art gems, and I'm adding them to the center of my flowers just to complete this look. So this is the final card. I really hope that you've been inspired to use these products. As you can see, I did the center or the inside of the card a little bit as well. So I hope you've been inspired. Go ahead and check out all of the links in my blog. I have all of the products linked there. I'd really appreciate it if you clicked on them and purchased your products through there. It just helps me keep bringing more inspiration to you, and I do get a bit of a commission at no extra charge to you. So any and all support is appreciated. I hope you all have a great day and that you've been inspired to make something crafty. Bye.